Gumbo Ocheng. There's my classmate, Rosemary Obara. There's Yeda from NHIF. Dr. Peter Tanui from the Rotary Club of Nairobi, colleague. There's Kalpa from the Rotary Club of Nairobi. There's Ruth Akelola from the University of Nairobi. We've challenged universities about their alumni. And Ruth works in a unit that is sponsoring students' education at the University of Nairobi. And I'm sure she has contact with the alumni, although she asked a question on nutrition. Then we have Ms. Kali Odula, who comes from the Odula family, who are very well known in the health sector, with Monica Ogutu. I've seen even further friends. I've seen the team from Loving Classroom, Edna Chelule, all the way from Sotik. Morel, who's sitting in his home all the way out there in London, and he's doing great work in monitoring. And Darren Collins, who is doing animation on COVID-19 for young students, children in primary schools. I see Winnie, who works with the Embassy of Sweden and is related to UN and UN Habitat. And I'm sure there are others whom I haven't mentioned, like Shiraz Samji. So maybe 2 minutes, if you don't mind, dear President, maybe just one or two other things that any one of us should feel free to comment on before we close down at 7:30, having had the stimulating engagement by Professor Rogo.
Well, I'd just like to thank all those members of Milimani who were able to make it. I'd like to thank Maria, Gilda Odera, Doris Odera, Yeda Mashage, and all those others who were able to come. It's been really great, and I think the questions were very good. And I'd also like to thank you, Josephine, Ambassador Josephine Ojiambo, for taking the initiative. Your dad, Professor Hillary, was a mentor to many of us, and it's good to see that the tradition lives on. Thank you. Thank you, Ritesh Baro, and congratulations for a very good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you all, Ambassador Josephine, Ojiambo, Ritesh, Simani, President. I'm from nowadays Rotary Club of Lavington Gioni. I thoroughly enjoyed the presentation by a great speaker, Professor Rogo. Thank you very much.
It seems like there are no microphones or speakers in London. Is David going to say something, or Morel? Are they going to speak, or are they on mute all the way back in London?
Okay, let me say something very quickly. Just to say a big thank you to Josephine for inviting us for this amazing presentation. And for Professor Rogo, I was so happy to hear somebody who sees Kenya from the county, from the bottom going up. You know, he talks about wards, talks about counties, talks about dealing with governors. And I think that's a very good approach, seeing Kenya from the bottom and reaching out to the schools. In fact, as he was talking, I was thinking of my former school, my former primary school, secondary school, my nearest primary school in Bomet. And so I think this is a very good initiative. We've been waiting for help from out there, but the help is actually from in us. We can reach out to the schools which are close to us and do something as people, as human beings with a heart. He talked about Ubuntu. Morel is here, and Morel loves the term Ubuntu so much. I hope he's going to say something today. He's been working on a project on Ubuntu with the African youth. So thank you. I've learned a lot today, and I'm inspired. I'm totally inspired. And from tomorrow, I'm going to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I've just shared, I know Loving Classroom for about 20 years and have been involved in it use in South Africa, and it's a beautiful curriculum for bringing values into the classroom and transforming the life chances of children by freeing us from our family patterns and histories. And it's a beautiful way of transferring behavior change into the classroom context and through schools. And what David Geffen, the original creator, has been doing is picking up messages that are timely, such as hands, face, space, and bringing them into the context of the classroom. But what was the, just beautiful, beautiful messages, like if a child at the age of 0 to 3 is spoken to and paid attention to by their parents, parts of their brain develop that will never have the chance again. So 1 billion neurons that could be developing in those first 3 years, if they're not stimulated, that seeming intelligence is lost to that child for another generation. And so Loving Classroom is a beautiful vehicle for bringing actually values of Ubuntu into education. And I've shared with you a link which David or Edna could share about how that's being introduced into Kenya. And there's also an interest in sharing the Kenyan experience of Loving Classroom into the international conference, the Great Lakes region. So that's the 12 countries versus our great LREB region. So I'm very delighted and proud to be invited to be with you. And the Prof, you know, I said this to you this morning, Prof, you completely inspire me and move me with your contribution. So thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Dr. Obara Rosemary. We are privileged to be working very closely with Professor Prof Rogo in LREP and seeing the things that we couldn't have imagined are happening, especially with the Doctor School Initiative. What we are trying to do now at the Lake Region Economic Bloc is to come up with a website so that we could have the stories posted. And if you adopt a school, we could see the before and after stories live online. And that's the work we are actually doing right now with a lot of my colleagues who are also online here. So for me, I'm really grateful. I've shared my contact in case somebody wants to contact me. Thank you very much.
May I say something, please? My name is Shairoz. I sit on the committee that Professor Rogo chairs. Just to add a couple of things, when we're talking of adopt a school, as Chairman said, we're not looking for people with, you know, big resources. It could be just very simple, where you go to the school, talk to the children about correct way of masking, talk to them about hand hygiene. So one example is, you know, with the school that I'm working with, when I went to the school, the students came with masks, but they weren't putting it on their faces. It was either in their pocket or it was in the school bag. So just helping them understand why it's important to wear a mask. It's not because the government says you can't go to school without a mask, but just helping them understand. And if they understand, they will be our ambassadors, taking that message first home to their parents and then to the community at large. And this way we can share a lot of important information on behavior change. So I think our schools, our kids would be great ambassadors for behavior change. And that's why we feel that this Adopt a School is just a great initiative, you know, without looking at great resources. Although we need those resources. There are schools who don't even have access to water. We talk of hand hygiene being so important in the mitigation of COVID, but they don't have water. How can we help there? So these little things can go a long way. Thank you.
Dr. Beatrice Kiptanui's hand is up. Beatrice, please, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank our esteemed speaker for a fantastic presentation. We very much enjoyed the golden nuggets. And I want to just comment as a Rotarian who happens to be a medical practitioner that we've taken on the challenge to be effective in our communities and playing the role of behavior change management. I happen to have had a decent conversation with David Mutai from the UK regarding loving classrooms and the essence of changing behavior, being that as professionals in our different lines of work, we have a duty to tell, to show, and to do, and to repeat that, because behavioral change is a huge mountain to climb. I happen to see COVID as an opportunity for us to impact on so many so-called third world disease conditions. And I'm glad that it has been mentioned that in the process of instilling the values of simple hygiene measures like hand washing, which I had the privilege to champion, that we have managed to impact other conditions that were plaguing our health system. And so we really must seize upon the opportunity to springboard off this message of COVID prevention and use it to reduce the burden on our healthcare system for many other conditions that we shouldn't really be battling. So thank you so much for a fantastic presentation, and thank you for your candid reflections on our tendency to seek help from outside when we have the capacity within to deal with it. Thank you very much. We take on your challenge. Thank you.
I think this conversation should be repeated at another forum. I want to challenge the two presidents to get together with other presidents and perhaps host another evening discussion with Professor Rogo. And as I say so, I just want to link our discussion this evening to an ongoing initiative of Rotary clubs in Kenya called the Safe Return to Schools, which many of you have probably heard about. The Safe Return to Schools is focusing on 25 counties where 400 model schools will benefit from a partnership between Rotary and UNICEF and other partners who come on board that platform. But it is limited to the 25 counties. So we are delighted to have a doctor's school as a movement to extend beyond what we're doing in 400 model schools to cover as many schools as we can get to in the rest of Kenya. So I too want to just say thank you very much, Prof, for a delightful evening. And I want to just say that my dear late father indeed did well when he mentored yourself and Dr. Philip Simani and others on this call, because together our voices continue to inspire others and also to keep ourselves inspired. Thank you so much. So back to the two presidents.
Thank you very much, Josephine, for those comments. To you, Ritesh.
Actually, I have said thank you to the speaker today, but I wanted to say a very special thank you to you, President Dr. Philip Simani. This has been a wonderful opportunity for us to partner during this Rotary year to have a joint meeting, and I'm particularly very glad about that. Thank you, Ambassador Josephine, for this initiative. Thank you.
Okay, I guess with that we can then say good night. Yes. Good night, everyone, and thank you all for attending.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.